The Wednesday of Holy Week was seen as a day of rest for Jesus. I would encourage you to do the same. This is going to be a very busy week in the life of Mill Creek. While in Bethany, a woman anointed Jesus' feet with perfume. While Jesus rests in Bethany at the home of Mary and Martha and Lazarus, a plot of the high priest and the authorities to kill Jesus is now in full swing. Finding an opportunity in the greed of Judas, Satan entered him. Judas went to the chief priests and authorities and from that moment he sought an opportunity to betray him. He would soon betray Jesus, and the 12 would scatter. None of the 12 would be left on the foot of the cross as Jesus dies, but John. On Wednesday, so we think about Judas Iscariot. Some call it Spy Day, because a spy was in the midst of Jesus' followers, and his name was Judas. He handed Jesus over to the religious leaders in exchange for 30 silver coins. Although Judas clearly committed wrong by betraying the Messiah, he plays an important role in Easter. Scripture doesn't give us much information about this day. Days beforehand, Jesus rode into Jerusalem, cursed the fig tree, and overturned the tables in the temple. But on Wednesday, near silence, apart from the fact that sometime that week, Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus. We can assume that Jesus and the disciples had to prepare for Passover during this time. Preparations likely would have taken longer than just the day we call Maundy Thursday. While it's not widely observed Maundy Thursday or Good Friday, Wednesday is different. It's a significant reminder of the betrayal, the greed, and darkness that led to Jesus' suffering, but also to God's ultimate plan to bring redemption to us through the cross. So let's take a look at the text to see how this went down. In Luke chapter 22, verses 1 through 6. Now the festival of the unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12, and Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted, of course, and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. Judas had often gotten frustrated. No matter what the reasons, Satan entered Judas during this period of bitterness and gives Judas an extra nudge to finally betray the man that he had followed faithfully for 3 years. So why is Judas Iscariot important? Jesus fulfills an Old Testament prophecy predicted hundreds of years before. The Bible gives us the exact amount by which the religious leaders would pay Judas to betray Jesus. It gets even more interesting when we look at the episode where Judas hangs himself on Good Friday. Matthew chapter 27, verses 1 through 10 tells us, early in the morning, all of the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to arrive and have Jesus executed. So they bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate, the governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, saw Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. I've sinned, he said, for I have betrayed innocent blood. That is for us, they replied. That's your responsibility. So Judas threw the money into the temple and left. He went away and hanged himself. The chief priests picked up the coins and said, it's against the law to put this into the treasury since this is blood money. So they decided to use the money to buy a potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. That's what it's been called, the field of blood, ever since. Then what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled. They took 30 pieces of silver, the price set on him by the people of Israel, and they used them to buy the potter's field as the Lord commanded me. They used that money to buy a vacant lot. Judas was clearly in the wrong. He betrayed the very man who he had followed for all these years. But because of Wednesday, we see yet another prophecy fulfilled from the Old Testament. Judas' role fulfills words declared hundreds of years before, which further proves the validity of the Bible and of Christianity. Now, tomorrow is a very important day. We call it Maundy Thursday. You might not have ever heard that before, so you need to check back tomorrow and learn why. See you then.